Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Now ask yourself, how do you feel knowing your wish is fulfilled? It feels good, doesn't it? That quote, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, is from Neville Goddard. Today I'm going to show you the law of assumption, the manifestation technique Neville Goddard used, and how you can use it to manifest anything you want by acting as if it's already done. What does it mean to manifest as if you've already achieved it? This technique shows up again and again in the stories of people who've built extraordinary lives, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, everyday people who turned a struggling season into a breakthrough. It's often called manifesting, but the more precise name for it is the assumption technique, or acting as if. The idea is simple to say and hard to master. Instead of hoping for a goal from a place of lack, you mentally and emotionally step into the reality of already having achieved it. You don't wish for the promotion, you think, feel and behave as the person who already has it. You don't dream about financial freedom, you occupy the identity of someone who already lives it. This isn't magical thinking divorced from effort. It's a psychological and neurological practice. When you consistently imagine a desired outcome with real emotional intensity, your brain's reticular activating system, the filter that decides what information is important enough to notice, starts flagging opportunities, people and resources that align with that outcome. You also change your behavior without realizing it. Confidence shifts from your posture, your tone, the risks you're willing to take, the way you negotiate, and the way you show up in a room. And behavior, more than hope, is what changes outcomes. Now, the mental practice. The mental side of this technique is about training your imagination, the same discipline an athlete trains a muscle. Here's how it's practiced. First, scripting. Writing a journal entry, letter or diary page in the present tense, describing your life as though the goal is already real. Not I hope to close the deal, but I closed the deal and here's how it feels to see it on the books. Second, mental rehearsal. Closing your eyes and replaying a specific scene from your achieved future in vivid detail. What you see, what people say to you, what the room looks like, what you're wearing, how you're standing. And third, a vision board or written vision statement. Something you can look at daily rather than only think about occasionally, because repetition is what turns imagination into instinct. The key mental shift is moving from asking, how will this happen, to assuming this has happened. Now, I'm just living from that place. Doubt is the enemy of this practice, not because doubt is bad or irrational, but because a divided mind produces divided action. The emotional practice. Here's what most people miss. Manifesting as if you've already achieved your goal is not primarily a thinking exercise, it's a feeling exercise. Neville Goddard, one of the earliest and clearest teachers of this method, insisted that the feeling is what does the work, not the mental picture alone. You can visualize a scene perfectly and still change nothing if there's no genuine emotion behind it. And I genuinely believe this is true because I really feel it. So emotionally, the practice looks like this: cultivating gratitude before the outcome arrives as if it's already yours, feeling the relief, the pride, the calm, the excitement right now in your body, rather than waiting for the achievement to grant you permission to feel it. This can be practiced through gratitude journaling, written in the present tense, through breathing exercises that anchor the feeling in your body, and through simply asking yourself throughout the day, how would the version of me who has already achieved this feel walking into this exact moment? Then embodying that answer. Now, 2 books that teach this well. The clearest source on this is Neville Goddard's classic work on the law of assumption, often published under the title The Power of Awareness. His central teaching is that an assumption though false at the outset, will, if persisted in, harden into fact. That the imagination held with feeling is the actual creative force behind changed circumstances. It's short, dense, and built entirely around this one idea. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and let your outer world recognize itself around that inner conviction. Now, the second is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Hill studied over 500 successful people of his era and distilled recurring habits into principles like deftness of purpose, autosuggestion, and burning desire. His teaching adds something practical that complements Goddard's more spiritual approach, specificity and repetition. Hill argued that a vague wish accomplishes nothing, but a specific, written, emotionally charged goal repeated to yourself daily reprograms the subconscious mind toward action. Put together, these two books build a complete system. Goddard supplies the feeling and the identity shift, and Hill supplies the structure. Write it down, define it precisely, repeat it, and pair it with a definite plan of action. Now, applying these lessons to business and personal life. So, in business, this shows up as leaders who visualize the closed deal. Before the negotiation, entrepreneurs who describe their company at a future size before it exists, and teams that write mission statements in the present tense rather than the aspirational future tense. It changes how you pitch, how you speak from confidence rather than need. It changes how you price your work. You price like someone who already knows their value. It changes how you handle setbacks. You treat them as temporary noise rather than proof that the goal is unreachable. In personal life, it applies to relationships, health, and self-image. Instead of I hope to become a calmer person, you begin practicing daily as the calm person you intend to be. In real, small interactions over time, the identity becomes the reality because the identity was driving the behavior all along. It was driving the behavior all along. People who've used the kind of mindset work across the world. You'll find versions of this technique across continents and industries. In North America, actor Jim Carrey has spoken publicly about visualizing success in vivid detail. During his early struggling years, including writing himself a large check dated years in the future, long before he had the means to cash it, as a way of holding the feeling of already having made it. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger has described visualizing himself as a champion bodybuilder in Austria before he ever competed internationally, then later applying that same mental rehearsal to his acting and political career. In Asia, Jack Ma has spoken about picturing Alibaba as a global company from its earliest, most uncertain days, holding that vision through years of rejection and failed funding rounds. In Africa, business leader Aliko Dangote has talked about setting his sights on building an industrial empire at a scale far beyond what his early ventures suggested, and organizing his daily decisions around that larger picture, long before the resources existed to support it. Across every continent, the pattern repeats. The achievement followed the identity, not the other way around. Developing your mindset with this technique. Let's look into this. Now, used consistently, this practice reshapes your mindset in a few specific ways. It builds resilience because setbacks stop feeling like evidence against you and start feeling like temporary detours from an outcome you've already claimed emotionally. It builds clarity because you can't hold a vivid picture of an undefined goal. The practice forces you to get specific, and it builds discipline because once you're emotionally invested in a future identity, your daily choices start aligning with that identity almost automatically. 3 actions you can take. Now, 1 is spend 10 minutes each morning scripting your day or your goal in the present tense as though it's already achieved, and read it with real feeling rather than rushing through it. 2 is create one vivid sensory rich mental scene of your achieved goal and mentally rehearse it before high stake moments. A pitch, a difficult conversation, a big decision, the way an athlete visualizes before a competition. Each evening, write down 3 things as if you're already grateful for the outcome you're working toward, training your emotional state to match your future rather than your current circumstances. Now let's look at the advantages in everyday life and in your business finances. Now the advantages of this mindset are practical, not just philosophical. It reduces anxiety around uncertain outcomes because you're operating from a felt sense of security rather than scarcity. It improves decision making because decisions made from confidence tend to be clearer than decisions made from fear. It increases follow through because emotional investment in an outcome makes consistency easier to sustain. In finances specifically, this mindset shifts tends to produce real behavioral changes. People who imagine themselves as financially secure are more likely to budget with intention rather than react out of panic, and more likely to negotiate salaries and rates with confidence instead of settling. More likely to invest for the long term instead of making fear-driven decisions, and less likely to make impulsive purchases that contradict the identity they're building. It also improves how you show up in business dealings. Investors, clients, and partners respond to certainty, and certainty is exactly what this practice is designed to build, long before the external proof arrives. Now, the technique is simple to describe, but demanding to live. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Hold it with real emotion. Let your behavior follow, and let the evidence catch up later. As Neville Goddard put it, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and watch how the rest of your life begins to organize itself around that assumption. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like the video. And always remember to design your profits first and your spend second.